Well, what an absolutely glorious February day. Now, I won't lie to you, it's been a little bit tricky trying to find someone to get out with this month. There's a lot of people not fishing because the weather's been so poor, and there's others that probably don't want to blank on camera. So I thought I'd take on a little winter challenge, or set myself a little winter challenge if you like, and that is to catch a winter 40 pounder. It's the start of February, so I'd say we've still got, what, 2 months of winter left. March is definitely winter these days, isn't it? It certainly is if the last few years are anything to go by. And actually I haven't caught a 40 pounder for a good year or so. The last one I caught was from the venue where we're at today, or the complex we're at today, and that is Fryerning Fisheries. That was the first issue of Carp Angle, if you remember that 40 pound common I caught from the Valley Lake. Well, this time we're going on the main lake. The main lake's got a good head of 40 pounders and a good head of fish in general, so I think there's a realistic chance if I can put in maybe 2 nights a week or so over the next 6 weeks, then we might have a chance of catching a 40 pounder. There's quite a few in here that I still haven't caught, so yeah, it's quite an exciting little prospect. So for now, I've just arrived. I'm going to have a good look about, and then I'll report back to you afterwards. See you in a bit. I can't actually believe how warm it is today. Absolutely glorious. Obviously a little bit chillier in the teeth of the wind, but even so, it's still all right, cosy. Right, I've had a good look about. 2 main areas that I like the look of. One was on the back of the wind at the far end of the lake. Out there, there's a big area that just doesn't get a huge amount of pressure because there's only one swim that fishes it, and that swim is the longest walk. That's flat calm up the back there, and it's in the sunshine as well, and it's quite shallow too, so wouldn't surprise me if there was a few up there. However, the deeper end of the lake, this is obviously a dam wall runs up behind me along the right hand side there. That tends to hold a lot of fish in the winter. You know, I think they feel more comfortable out in that deeper water, and although there might be some up the other end, you know, because it is a bit shallower, you know, if you were to catch one, probably they're going to spook out. Whereas out here, they've got a lot more depth around them, a lot more water around them, and they feel a lot more comfortable. So, I'm thinking, rather than take the walk of hell, no, it's not that bad, it's just I've got a puncture-proof barra, which is not ideal for slippery, muddy pathways, and there's a bit of that around there at the moment. So, I think I'm going to take the easier option, but I also think that probably is a better option because out here I think I've got more chance of getting a spot going, working it with a bit of bait, getting some of the smaller fish in there feeding, and then hopefully the bigger ones will follow. Now out here sort of shallower in this bay, but then at about, I don't know, 30-40 yards I think it drops off a little bit. There's a bit of a gravel line, and then it drops into the deeper water, and I know that can be a good area at this time of year, so I think we're going to go for this one for starters. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit chilly because the wind's sort of cutting around here a bit, but if I get my bivvy at a bit of an angle, then yeah, I'll be tucked out of it enough. Right, anyway, that's enough of my jibber jabber. I need to get some rods out because I'm quite excited. Right, lovely jubbly, 3 rods in the zone. What I like to do with the fluorocarbon, if I want to fish slack lines, is pull a load of it off after you've cast out. So sink the line down, then I pull loads off and just give that about 10-15 minutes or so. And what you'll find is that will really bed down into the sediment in the lake bed and tends to stay there a lot more. You know, if you've got lakes that have got a lot of undertow, that can really help to keep it in place. I do love the old fluorocarbon. I'd be lost without it, to be honest with you. The old rings ain't very straight, are they? Sort it out, Morgan. Okay, rod's out, cup of tea in hand. For those who haven't heard of Fryerning before, it's about 20 acres, and I've been coming here on and off for many, many years now. I think the first time I visited here, I was about 14, 15, and then it was just sort of plain grassy banks. They used to have jet skis on here, and since then it's been developed into, you know, solely a carp fishery, and there's been so much love, time and money put into the place. And it's really, really is, you know, stunning these days. And the stock is immense as well. I say that was the first time I come down here, and then the second time was like early days of working at Corder in my early 20s, and I had a really nice 30 pounder. It's still in here actually, it's one of the 40s now, it's called the Emperor. Just fishing down that far end, just casting 3 single choddies up there, come down on a feature for carpology, and managed to catch that one. And then another time it was particularly good to me. I came down, someone sort of bid to fish with me for a charity, and I brought him down here. And basically, cut a long story short, I ended up going in the swim I fancied, but I gave him the choice, you know. I knew I liked the look of this one particular area, but I was like, look, these 2 swims, I think are the ones we should go in. You choose which one you want to go in. And he chose the other one, so I thought, oh, that's the result. And as I was setting up, I just thought, right, whilst I get myself sorted, I'm just going to flick a couple of singles out into this zone over the back there. It was on the back of the wind, in the sunshine, and it just looked and felt right. I hadn't actually seen any carp signs, but just the old gut feeling. Anyway, within 10 minutes, one of them singles was away. Got that in the net, and it was like a 43 pound mirror, mega one as well, one I hadn't caught before. I think it was Charlie's mate, or Charlie. And then I think that had only been in the net about 5 minutes, not even that, and the other rod went, and I got that in, and it was the Momon at 46 pounds. So yeah, brace of 40 pounders. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I was lost for words. I went down to get the guy, and I was like, mate, you won't believe what's just happened. You're going to have to come and have a look in these nets. It was just ridiculous, one of them. So yeah, I've been here, you know, just on the odd little trip. I never really fished it intensely. I've always treated it as somewhere to come and have a little go when I'm feeling a bit lost or haven't got anywhere else to go. Obviously there's a big head of big fish in here. I think at times it's had up to sort of 17 40s. I'm not sure what the current stats are, but there's a lot of new fish coming through now as well, ones that have actually grown on in the lake. They're packing on the weight as well. So yeah, the future is very bright for this awesome place. As I say, the amount of work they've done on it over the years is just ridiculous. These guys, Chris and Charlie, they just never stop doing work to this place. There's always a bit of clearing to do, or you know, improvements to swims, and planting trees, planting flowers, and yeah, the place just looks epic. You know, all through the year as well, because there's a lot of evergreens here. So yeah, hats off to you boys. You've done a blinding job. All right, time to sit back with my tea, keep an eye on the lake, and hopefully we might get a sign or 2. Come on the carps. Well, thought I'd do a little evening update for you. It's getting on for midnight, and I've been sitting here all evening without hearing anything, up till about half an hour ago that was. I heard a big old boodoosh. I thought it sounded about 40 yards away to the right, but I wasn't convinced it wasn't on the valley lake, you know. It's like, what was it? Coot spooked, and yeah, I just wasn't sure. So anyway, I got the old carp ears out, like you do. Increase your hearing by at least 23 to 24% by doing that. And yeah, another one boshed about 10 minutes later, so that was enough for me. I wound one rod in, flicked a 6-bait stringer around there, and feeling a lot more confident now. Hopefully they're just moving into the area. Where I put the bait, it's not very far out. It's only sort of 13 and a half wraps. So yeah, if they're in the vicinity, hopefully they're going to come across my grub and have a little party out there. I had a little flick through the website to see which ones I haven't caught and which ones I'd really like to catch. I'd say top of the list is one called Bertie's Linear, which is a mega long linear, bit of like a leany looking thing. Yeah, so I've always wanted to catch that one. What else is there on the list? Haven't caught XL Pecs, haven't caught No Name, and I'm sure there was one or two others to go for. And as well as that, as I said, there's some other really nice ones coming through now, and there's probably a fair few 30s in here that I've not caught too. But as I say, top of the list for me will be Bernie's Linear. Right, so it's about midnight now, so I think I'm going to think about getting my head down soon. I bet it's a bit of a shock to see my eyeballs, isn't it? For whatever reason, my eyes are very sensitive to sunlight, and I've had quite a few people comment in the past, has Joe even got any eyeballs? But as you can see, I've got lovely blue eyes. You just don't get to see them very often. But there you go. Right, I've already brushed my teeth, so I'm going to tuck myself in and pray to the universe for a visitation in the nation from a big carp. Bon nuit. Well, it's a mega old night, really windy and mild. I just couldn't sleep. And yeah, about 2:30, rod's ripped off, middle rod. And we just caught this mega chunky 25-pound mirror, which I've never seen before. It's got a funny little peck fin on this side. Pectoral fin, should I say. It's like Nemo. Come on, mate, calm down. I'll show you off. You're famous. Come on. Look at the size of that scale. That is one cool character, man. I am well happy with that. That's my first carp of 2022. And yeah, what a carp to start the year with. Buzzing! With weather like this and a spot rocking, there's every chance of another one. Chuffed. Well chuffed. Right then, Mr. Angry. Gonna get you back. Look at you. What a carp. Lovely reddy hues on it as well. Oi, oi. He's going off. Look at this for a mega carp. Chunky monkey of a linear. Lovely big old apple slice scales. Big gut on him. Lovely chunky old frame. He's going to be a grower, isn't he? What a character that is. God, gotta start naming these, haven't we? Over the moon. Mega result for February. And yeah, the way things are going, and we could get this target, not necessarily in this session, but in the next month or so. I'm sure there's a good chance. Certainly got the tactics right and the area right for this session, so yeah, buzzing. I struggled to sleep tonight. Right then, mate, let's get you back. I literally had just shut my eyes and it went, God, what a carp. Crazy things are going on. I'll tell you what, this is mental. I've got such a buzz on, I haven't been able to sleep. I've just had another one, and it's only about 40 minutes or so before it's going to be getting light. 26-pound common, mint one, lovely, clean, mega carp, free fish in the night. This is mad. I don't know why I can't sleep, you know. I keep literally laying there and I just like, I've got a buzz on. It's like something special's going to happen. I mean, free fishing. Oh, battery in the light has died. Yeah, let's get this on the case. Free fish in a night in February for me, that's pretty special as it is. But with a lake like this, you just don't know what else might happen. I've got another night to go yet, 2 full days. So yeah, I best get that spot topped up and see if I've got another light for me, a battery for me light even. Sweet, madness. Head is gone, head is absolutely blown. Not just by the amazing sunset behind, but by the fact that we've got another one. And last night, when I was talking about the fish that I hadn't caught, I forgot one of them. And this is the one I forgot about. And guess what it is? It's the biggest fish in the lake. The gurm, never caught it before. Massive chunk. I'm just waiting for a bit of better light. So honestly, I'm speechless. No words. But yeah, give it another 15-20 minutes or so and should have enough light to get her out and have a little look and away. Oh, I can't believe it. Absolutely crazy. What a mental result. Absolutely mental. Let's double check. Well, I think it was probably getting on for 20 years ago now when this first went £40. I remember seeing it on the front cover of Carp Talk all them years ago, and finally I got my chance to meet it. First time I've actually seen it on the bank as well. Right, and girl, hopefully you'll live many more years. Let's get you back. Go on and girl, you're free to go. Bolted off. Lovely jubbly. Happy blooming days. Well, had a little head dip in the lake. That water is extremely cold, but it's a nice way to wake up, that's for sure. Certainly does the job. Right, little tip for you regarding barbless hooks. Now, if I'm honest with you, I used to be scared of using barbless hooks because I didn't want anything to fall off. Put all that time and effort in, the last thing you want to do is lose the fish because of a barbless hook. However, I had to use them in France at a lake called Maison de Lac Bleu, and out there I was using a size 4 wide gape and barbless obviously, and I didn't lose one fish. And I think main reason for that is I was using a nice long curve of shrink tube, probably about twice the length that I've got on here. But what I'm getting at is once that hook is in place, if you've got a nice size bit of shrink tube on there, a little kicker, then that helps the hook stay in there. You imagine if that hook point was buried deep and then the fish is blowing the bait back that way and all it's doing is pushing that into place. So it's almost like folding around the lip and holding there. And without doubt, you know, when you're using barbless hooks, that will help you stop losing any fish. But yeah, this is the rig I've been using over here. Very simple. Hook bait wise, I've either been using one of these little 8mm mini micros. Get a lot of people ask me, what 8mm pop-ups do you use in your solid bag? Well, it's these ones, which are a main line one. They come in pink and white, like a little mixture, and then all the main food flavours that they do. These ones are Link, but to be honest with you, I've used Link, Hybrid, Cell. You know, at the end of the day, it's just a small little pop-up that adds a little bit of buoyancy to the hook and a little bit more surface area as well. Like I say, I've been topping them off with about 8 maggots or so. So it's a nice, small, light hook bait that just sits up off of the hook, doesn't sit the hook off the bottom. The Cell ones I was using, the 12mm pop-ups, when I was using 2/3 of one of them, it just kind of wants to lift up the the eye of the hook. And then you imagine, like, as soon as that gets lifted by the fish sucking it, that hook point is exactly in the right place it wants to be. There's that little hinge movement there, look, it's just dropping perfectly, and then obviously that tiny bit of movement, which is like, you know, a few inches of movement, and well, it wouldn't even be that, it'd be like a couple of inches of movement. Obviously the rig's about 4 inches, but it's got to go into their mouth and tighten up against the lead. Well, as soon as that tightens up against the lead, that super sharp hook pricks them. They react to that, and then that obviously sets the hook home properly, and off you go with your bite. So yeah, it's just mega effective setup for me, this. Like I say, I use the shrink tube whether I'm using a barbed hook or a barbless hook, because that helps the hook turn and acts, you know, it sort of reacts from whatever way the fish is approaching it from. But also, as I said, you know, it helps the hook stay in place. So yeah, if you've got to use barbless hooks, make sure you use a nice little bit of shrink tube, and that's going to help it stay secure. Oi, oi. Wow, check him out for an absolute breeze block of a common. There is one in here called the Dalmatian. It's like a big white ghosty, and no doubt this one's got a bit of that in its genetics. If you look at its tail there, got a mad old pink tinge to it, and like I say, it really is like a breeze block. Fought like a demon, ripped off as well. You see how full he is. They're proper on the munch, these fish, aren't they? Mega to see. £28 this one. Never seen it before, never seen a picture of it. What I love is they're all such different characters, aren't they? I made sure today that I didn't tie any spare rigs up, because that's always the kiss of death for me. So yeah, tie them as I need them, otherwise I just tempt fate and catch no more. Right, let's get you back. Fatty Arbuckle. Wow, wicked, what a session. God, looking even more bleary-eyed than yesterday this morning. I did get some sleep last night though, but it was another eventful night. After that chunky common, think about 2 o'clock, I had a small one, probably about £8, and then about 30 minutes afterwards, literally, I just got the rod back out, got back into bed, just drifted off, wallop, same rod's gone again, and similar sort of size, you know, upper single. And then I managed to get about 3 hours sleep, and then I had another one just before it got light, which is a common, around about £20, I reckon. So yeah, mental session. 8 fish, 2 nights. I've still got a couple of hours left yet, but I don't know, it all seems to be night action here at the moment, so I'm not expecting anything else. Yeah, it's a nice morning to be out. Got me coffee, much needed at the moment. I'm going to need 2 or 3 of these, I think, to get me going. Amber nectar, couldn't live without it. Happy days. And there we go. A little bit different coloration to the common I had yesterday. That one was a lot browner and chestnuttier. This one's a bit more silver, but equally immaculate condition, mega shape, and another one for the future for frying, that's for sure. So it's pretty epic what's around the corner for this place, with all these new ones coming through, and they're all packing on the weight. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how these ones progress. Won't be long before there's loads of new 40-pounders in here again. Awesome place. Right then, Mr. Carp, we're going to get you back to your home and get some more coffee down me. Wicked. What a mega winter session. I think probably one of the best winter sessions I've ever had. Happy blooming days. Lovely jubbly. Right, back you go, mate. Thanks for the visit. Be good. Oh, that water is freezing. Wow, would you believe it? After getting in from Fryerning, I thought I'd transfer that footage onto the computer, and had an issue with the card reader, and the SD card was actually corrupt. So I lost quite a lot of footage from that session. Obviously that was why there was no footage of the big one on the bank, that lovely £26 common that I mentioned. You didn't see any of that. So I thought to myself, well, that's all right, I'll come out this week and get a few bits and I can tag them onto the end. So went to Fryerning today, got there, and it was actually pretty busy. There was all the damn wall was free, so I could have gone on there, but tomorrow we've got 45-mile-an-hour westerlies, and I've already been smashed up on that damn wall once in the past, literally obliterated a bivvy, so I really didn't fancy that. So it looked like the universe was pointing me elsewhere, and I've actually come up to Cleverley Top Lake to try and settle the score after having a bit of a tough time on here in the autumn when I come up here with Ash. I thought, do you know what? I've got to go and have one out of there. I did catch one in those 11 nights or whatever it was, but obviously I should have had more. So yeah, I'm here to settle the score. What do they say when you're on a roll? Keep rolling. See if we can have a winter 40 out of this lake as well, eh? Fishing pretty much exactly the same as I was at Fryerning, but without the maggots here. So yeah, similar sort of rig, similar sort of bait, minus the maggots. So wish me luck for this evening. I've got my rods out, lines are just slackening off at the moment. Picked a couple of areas where there was a fair few showing last time I was here. There seemed to be consistent areas. So yeah, I've gone 2 rods out to the right, and then one out to, well, straight out actually. Each of them got about half a dozen small spoms of bait over the top, 10mm cell, 15mm cell, bit of hemp, bit of ground bait, and a handful of sweet corn. So yeah, not too much, enough for a bite, and we've got some epic weather coming up. Like at the moment, the pressure's pretty low, the wind's just dropped off, but it has been pretty windy all day long. And then tomorrow we've got full moon. I think it's tomorrow, it might be the next day, but yeah, full moon this week with some good weather. It's mega mild, Bruce is due, come on the Brucey bonus. Oi oi, Savaloy. Well, about half hour after I got the rods out, not long after I done that bit to camera actually, I looked out and there was a load of ripples coming out from exactly where my left hand rod was. I stood there watching and watching, expecting a bird to come up. No bird come up, so I thought, right, looking good, looking good. Just had myself a lovely vegetable curry, which was heated up, cooked at home, put in the freezer. Good tip that is. If you ever cook anything nice like that, put yourself a little portion aside for when you get out fishing. Can't beat a bit of home cooked grub on the bank. Anyway, 8 o'clock, just chatting on the phone to my mate, left hand rod, pulled up tight, and I had a mental scrap. Honestly thought I was into one of the big ones. There we go, it's a 40-pounder on the cards. But it isn't, it's one of the young ones by the looks of it, probably one of the newer stockies over the last few years. But yeah, I've just got that rod back out, had to tie a new rig up because, as I mentioned before, you know, I don't like tying them up in advance, otherwise I just don't catch anything. As soon as I think, right, yeah, I've had one, right, get a few rigs ready. No, kiss of death. Not just me, but Adam Penny is exactly the same as well, so I'll tie them as I need them. But yeah, it's just started to rain a little bit, so maybe we'll wait for that to die off, and then we'll get him out and have a little look at him. Result, well chuffed. Got on the old solid bags. After having that little struggle up here before, you know, obviously I messed around with loads of different things, but I just thought, no, I'm going back to what I know, what I've got my most amount of faith in, and that is those little short hook links. Tiny little 8mm pop-up, and yeah, a little bag of goodness, so it's done the job. Mega sweet. Right, as I say, we'll give it a minute and then we'll get him out and have a look. Happy days. I have to get myself a hat, and the old comb over ain't working. Oh, right, well, absolute peach of a fish. Look at that, mega clean. little bit angry. Go on, relax, you'll be alright. That was 4 ounces under £20, that one, as you can see. Definitely one of the newer ones. I'll send Ash a picture and see if he knows which one it is, because he always likes to keep on top of them, see how much they're growing. No doubt this was about £6 a couple of years ago, the way they grow in here. Yeah, mega. Right, let's get him back. See what else tonight brings, eh? Seriously carpy weather, mega mild, wind's dropped off. Till it gets up tomorrow, it's going to be an absolute hoolie. It's going to be blowing a hoolie. Lovely job. Well, excuse the extreme close-up, bivvy cam, handheld, bodge job, but it's raining outside, and guess what? I've got another one. I reckon it's probably about 16 livery shoulders, so another one of the old, or young stockies, should I say. But yeah, mega weather. It just feels bang on. Can't believe that this could turn into a, well, I mean, 2 fish already. It's, you know, I think when I was here last time I'd done 11 nights for 1. So yeah, it's already turning into a banging session, but 2 stockies, I reckon the next one could be a big one. Come on, the chunks. Right, hopefully this rain will stop, and I'll show you this one. Results. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's lovely. Lovely little leathery one, this one. Oh, it's got scales on him, but it's got characteristics of a leather. It's got leathery shoulders and a funny little tail. Just under £19, that. Cracking fish. And yeah, top result. Them little solid bags doing the business. And I'll tell you what, it's got to be something in that Smarter liquid. It's either that or I've stepped on something. But yeah, they definitely like it, that's for sure. Don't like to plug products too much, but in fact I don't like plugging that one at all, because if it's that much of an edge, I'd rather keep it to myself. Right then, Mr. Leathery character, I'll get you back there. Go and tell Brucey, boy, I'm looking for him. Ooh. Mega. Well, last few months I've been joking around saying my mojo's gone on holiday because it knows better. Goes travelling in the winter. But I think he's come back from travelling now. Blimey, about 20 past 4, something like that. Left hand rod tightened up again, got out, mega old scrap. Blimey, this has got to be one of the big ones. Got it in the net, old torch on it. Lovely mirror, cracking mirror, £32. So anyway, yeah, I got that rod back out, and I thought, right, I'm going to move another one into the same sort of zone because it was all coming on the same rod. So I moved another one into the same zone, pulled the line off, let that slack, put the kettle on, let that sink, sorry. Yeah, put the kettle on, and then that rod was away. The PVA hadn't even melted on the bag, it was still wrapped around the tail rubber. And I got one of the ones I really wanted to catch out of here. When we came here last time, me and Ash both said, right, well, pick a fish, and this was actually one of the ones that I picked. It's known as the Fully, mega old carp, massive plated scales, cool shape. It's been in here donkey's years, so over the moon. Just under £34, so 32 and a 33. That's 19 and 18, so what a night's fishing. February as well, I just can't actually believe what's happening. I've got another 2 nights yet as well, and I think the full moon's tomorrow, so who knows what else could happen on this session. Wow, mega. Right, well, I've spoke to Ash, and Ash is on his way to come down and give us a hand doing some pictures, so Yeah, looking forward to showing you these mega carp. Cheers, universe. Done well there. But yeah, this is mental. Ash has just turned up and right hand rod was away after about 10 minutes of him being here. I don't have many sessions like this in the summer, let alone in the winter. I don't know what's going on at the moment. Just glad that my mojo's returned from his winter travels. Didn't feel that heavy at first, but it feels alright. A lot of them have been coming straight in from the other side fairly easily, and then they get to about 30 yards out and start kicking off. Ooh, don't think that lead's come off. The bites have been quite slow and not particularly aggressive. The leads have been staying on. Oh, he's woken up now. This weather is ridiculous. It's so mild. I think it's meant to go up to something like 14 degrees today. Low pressure, big moon. It's just like the planets have aligned. Oh, I just saw a bit of colour. We got deep colour. Little short link, yeah, the lead hadn't fallen off. They always fight hard. Always fight harder, don't they? When oh, flip my neck, missed him. Dodgy bit of netting, but he's in the net. That's what matters. Lovely. Peach. Day 12, the road that never stops. 60 decibels. Yeah, average is about 60 decibels. That's quite consistent as well. Oi oi, Savoy, £24, lovely mint condition mirror, bit of a character as well. It's got a funny sort of tail and funny little pecs. It's got them 3 scales in the middle and then the 2 below the dorsal. Yeah, made up with him. That's 5 now for this session, unbelievable. So yeah, let's get them other 2 out and have a quick look at them and then get them back, let them get on with their day, because obviously we've had them a couple of hours now and don't like to keep them long. Awesome. Thank you, mate. Well, like I say, 5 fish in a night after having 1 fish in 11 nights. I feel like I've kind of redeemed myself on this lake and settled the score a bit with these fish. And with 2 nights to go, who knows what else might happen. Right, let's get them other ones out. There we go, getting lit up in the morning sunshine. £32 of mega mirror carp, known as Elliot's fish, this one, named after my old mate Elliot Gray. Definitely going to be one of the big uns of the future in the top lake. Well, Elbow, time for you to go back, mate. Really appreciate you popping in to say hello. Go and tell Brucey boy Joe's in town. Lovely. Go on in, mate. This water's cold enough. My hands are absolutely freezing, but it's all worth it, isn't it? Wicked. Right, one more to go. Timothy, because you're worth it. And there we go, the main prize, just under £34 of mega old, big plated top lake fully. Buzzing with this one. Seen it many times in pictures and in video over the years, and always thought, yeah, I'd like to catch that one day. And here he is, or here she is, looking super full and super cool as well. Considering how old she is, mega condition. What a buzz. Right, one last little look at that mega carp. Scales on it, huge, absolutely huge. Thanks again. Sometimes carp fishing gets a bit mental. Right, boy, gives it fist bump. All right, lick, that'll do. Right, well, wind's got back up again. I think it's on about sort of 15-20 mile an hour at the moment. But in 2 hours' time, it's going to be 40 to 45 miles an hour. So I need to get a bit of bait out there now if I'm going to get any out there at all. It's a bit of a crosswind as well, so it's a bit of an awkward one. But so get it done now, and I think we'll be all right. But yeah, this is the old mix putting out there. Hemp, 10mm cell, loads of smart liquid, a little bit of sweet corn, and some 14mm cell in there as well. So yeah, just going to top that up, probably 6 midi-sized spoms on each rod. That seemed to do the trick last night, didn't it? I did have a little top up this morning, just 3 spoms on that one rod, that main rod that was going. So yeah, keep the little bait trickling in, keep the scent in the water, and hopefully keep the bites coming. Fingers crossed. Greedy bugger. Oh, you bastard. Right, lovely jubbly, spot's all topped up. Was a little bit of a struggle in the wind. The crosswinds are always a nightmare, aren't they, spotting? But I thought I'd just talk a little bit about the spot I'm fishing, because in some ways it's similar to the spot that I caught from at Fryerning last week, and that is it's a gravel area where there's a lot of silt. So in a lot of lakes, like this is similar to Fryerning in that there's not loads of gravel in here. It's predominantly a silty lake bed. And the same as with Fryerning, you know, there's very few gravelly spots in Fryerning. So it's a bit of a case of the old, when you've got nothing, something is everything. But in this case, it's obviously, you know, a feature that they'll visit regularly. Obviously, get sort of where there's gravel, a lot of the time it will be protruding slightly or out of the lake bed, and then you'll get little pockets around that of where the natural food builds up. And what I tend to do is find them and then just come just off of the gravel, just into the silt. So not only will there be more natural food there anyway than on the clean gravel, but also it makes it a lot harder for them to deal with. You know, if fish are rummaging around in sediment on the bottom, then it's a lot trickier for them to pick out hook baits and deal with the rig, especially when you're using these tiny little short rigs like I'm using. As soon as they mouth that bait, the hook link tightens up, and because that hook's sitting the way it is, it's just dropping down onto that bottom lip. The shrink tube curves around them and they're nailed. You know, I think it basically, if you've got a rig that makes the fish bolt as quickly as possible, then that's, you know, the best kind of rig you can get, because that sets the hook home properly and you know about it. And those ones are just sort of just pricking in and the barb's not going right in, they can kind of suck and blow and deal with them quite easily, and sometimes you've got no idea about that, and that's why I think this rig that I use is so effective. I think I'm going to have to come up with a name for it really. The other rig I came up with years ago has been called the flipper rig these days. It wasn't me who named it though. It was a rather successful angler who's done very well on it. Caught far more fish on it than I ever will. Right, time for a brew I think. Beautiful day, lovely glorious sunshine, 14 degrees, middle of February. Happy as Larry. Top of the morning to you. Well, I'd like to say it was a quiet night, but that was far from quiet. You don't get many quiet nights when you're fishing this close to the A12 anyway, but yeah, storm, big old storm. Massive gusts of wind. Put my old decibel meter on just to check it, and it was up to like 75 or something in the bivvy last night, just from all the... I honestly thought this was going to take off, but kept getting out to check my pegs, and thankfully they all stayed put. Yeah, it calmed off. I had a migraine all evening, to be honest with you. Well, most of the afternoon till about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, which is exactly when the storm calmed off, to be honest. But yeah, I've expected there might be a chance of a bite after that. I don't tend to catch fish in them sort of conditions very often from memory. Thankfully. Just want to be in your bivvy with your old cooker on and the door up when it's like that, don't you? But yeah, it's, you know, the conditions are still good. Obviously it's changed a little bit from yesterday. We've got bright clear skies today. Just been watching the moon set over the back there as the sun was rising behind me. Yeah, lovely morning to be alive, to be honest with you. One of them mornings that makes you feel pretty grateful for being on the planet. On planet Earth. Yeah, obviously I'd be even more grateful if I caught one, but after yesterday's results, I'm more than happy, and I think wanting any more would just be greedy. On that note though, I shall still be staying one more night because, you know, with these conditions and that Brucey boy due out, then I'd be mad to go home. Right, coffee o'clock. Right, mega little tip for you. If you haven't got one, then you need to get yourself one of these bird torches. They even work in the daytime. You know, there's a lot of lakes where birds are an absolute nightmare these days, and when they're constantly picking up, you know, they could be messing your presentation up, blunting your hooks, cleaning you out, etc., etc. You know, and if you're only fishing a small amount of bait, then you know you don't want them birds to be wiping out everything you've put out there. So, one of these in your bag at all times will be a lifesaver. I know it sounds like a product plug, and it is a product plug really, but it's one that you should take note of because it's going to be an edge, and we all need our edges. Wow, it was a really calm evening last night, almost spookily calm, to be honest with you. The old calm before the storm. But this is the one we're going to end the session on. The storm's about to kick off any minute, so I'm going to get the rods in. Ash has had to cancel a booking or postpone a booking down on the Mere because we've got red alert today. Apparently there's never been a red alert, so yeah, quite serious times by the sounds of it. Mega fishing weather, and I don't know, would I stay if I could? Probably not. I need a bath and some nice home cooked food, and I'm more than happy with the session I've had. Lovely, lovely jubbly. This one's what was it, just under 19, did I say? 18 3/4. Packing on the weight, big old scale on the shoulder, well, big scale on this side on the shoulder, couple of little ones down the middle. But yeah, mega one for the future of the top lake. Awesome. Right, enough of my jibber jabber. Get this one back and get myself on the road. Happy days. Cool, that water is cold. Don't think we'll have any Timotei moments this morning. Right, lovely fish. Lovely to meet you. And thank you, Top Lake, for being a bit kinder to me this time. I'll be back.
So, the top three, one's got to be a certain mirror that I was targeting for a few years. A beautiful old mahogany chestnut, rare one that doesn't come out very often. I'm pretty sure it hasn't been caught since I caught it in 2016. So, what are we in, 2021? So yeah, good 5 years ago now. Mega old carp, very low stock, not much history, 2 previous captures, and yeah, just a mega rare one. That's not the biggest carp I've caught, but certainly one of the most special. And another one, probably, it's not as, it's not one that would stand out in my photo album or on Instagram if people have had a look, but I had a mega 33.5 pounder from the canal a few years ago. Where it come from, little history, nobody knows, but a massive sort of slopey head dinosaur with shoed scales on it. Had it out of the edge and put a lot of work in, a lot of time, and it's still the biggest one to date that I've had out of there. That's a very special one that I keep close because such a mega fish for the canal, a 33.5 pounder. Another one, probably the Linear from one of the Royal Parks. Bit more well known than what it used to be when I caught it. First ever known capture, caught off the surface. Fished it for 4 years prior, put a lot of time and effort into it, and sort of gave up a sitting on my hands fishing it the way I was, so I went a little bit militant and yeah, sort of braid him out in the middle of the day on a little 6-foot rod on a bit of bread flake. So that ended a very long campaign that could have ended up going on for a while, just because of the sheer amount of small commons in the lake, and that being one of the main sort of kings of the pond, if you like. So yeah, them 3 very special carp. Yeah, my favourite ones.
Well, it's a great chilly old morning, but today we've got something a little bit different lined up for you. Obviously, the name of the show is Carp Angle. However, I'm sure a lot of you are aware there's many carp anglers who go out in the winter fishing for different species. And the beauty of this is, you know, you can just drop in for a couple of hours. I've been doing a bit of it lately myself, getting out carp fishing when it's super cold for a couple of nights. It's a big commitment. Even a day session, you know, in your head it becomes a big ordeal, whereas popping down to the river for a couple of hours is not a big ordeal, and you get all the benefits of being outdoors. Not only that, but I think we're all getting a bit obsessive with phones. The old phone addiction's getting out of hand. And yeah, so anything you can do to get you off of that phone is a good thing. Like I say, I've been doing a bit of this lately myself, and sitting there watching a quiver tip, you haven't got any time to look at your phone. If you're not looking at your tip, then you might as well not be there. So yeah, it keeps you locked in the moment. Obviously there's lots of different species you can go for. Today we're going to be having a go for some chub. I've invited Adam Penning down for the morning. I'm not going to be fishing myself, because obviously with this type of fishing I need to be on it with the camera work. So yeah, we're going to have a few hours and hopefully show you how Adam goes about his chub fishing. Well, top of the morning to you, Mr. Penning.
Morning, mate.
How are you doing? You all good?
Yeah, very good, thanks, mate. Very good. Just taking the umbrella out of the sling, because hasn't rained yet this year, is it? And I don't think it's going to today.
Well, that's tempting fate. It's definitely going to now.
Good, I want it to.
So, no sleep last night, I imagine?
No, mate, not an ounce. Every time I dozed off, I see that orange tip going and then banging round. So, mate, I love fishing on the rivers, as you know, and can't wait to get down there. We've got a nice bit of cloud cover and no frost last night. So, that's a bonus, because we've had frost after frost after frost, haven't we? So, yeah, I mean, the river's going to be very low, very clear, and chub are very, very spooky, so we're going to have to be on our game and fish sensible. But yeah, I'm buzzing for the chance of a £3 or something. That'd be awesome. You never know.
Sweet. Right, well, you got your kit ready?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, we'll get down there.
Let's do it. So I've got a 13-foot feeder rod, which I find is pretty much perfect for most situations, but typically this swim, which I haven't fished, I fished upstream a little bit on one afternoon last year and caught a couple there, but here there's a big overhanging branch, so the rod's a little bit longer than I need, but it's all I've got. So we've got a 13-foot feeder rod, and I'm putting a quiver tip, plug-in quiver tip. Now, choosing the quiver tip that you're going to use is quite important. You put in a really, really stiff one, then it's going to be, always remember that the more the fish pulls that tip round, the more you can see, but the more it can feel you. So most of the fishing that I do is with the lightest tip that I can get away with. It's almost about right for a 1 ounce quiver tip here, because there's not a huge amount of flow, but I'm going to be on the edge of the crease, so I'm going to put a 2 ounce tip in, and I think that will just about hold just about right. Again, when you're tipping, you don't want it whacked round, you just want a little bend in it so you can see the bites nice and clearly. So I'm going to plug that in there, and then I'm going to do the threading up of all the rod rings, which means that I'll see you in about 2 hours time. So one of the other main things that I used to work with a load of match anglers at Drennan, and I learned so much from them. They're brilliant at what they did. And one of the key things when you're fishing for shy biting fish, not necessarily that chub are shy biting, but on the Thames back then there were matches every single weekend, you know, big peggers sometimes. So the fish got a lot of pressure, and people knew where the chub hotels were, as they used to call them. So they took a bit of fishing for. And if you put your feeder directly running on the line, again, the fish can feel that resistance through the feeder straight away as soon as it picks the bait up. So what we used to do was tie a big figure of 8 loop knot, like so. And then what you're going to do is bite your loop knot sort of 2/3, not in half, but about 2/3. So you end up with a really long tag end and a shorter tag end. So I'm going to bite it about there. And then you get a little link, a little offshoot, which you can squeeze a couple of shot on. And this is your hook link. And what it means is that any bite indication is transmitted straight up the line to your quiver tip without them feeling the weight, because the weight isn't on the line, it's off the side. And with little link ledgers and so on, the shot just slide off if it gets snagged. I've never actually had a fish snag me doing that. Hope I haven't cursed the day. I'm going to start off with £6 straight through, because the water is quite coloured. Another thing with chub fishing, quite often you want to start as strong as you can, see if you can nick one, and you will always find that if you catch one, if you put it back in, you usually don't get another one. So if you start thick and strong, it gives you margin to move down and find down. And although we start off on £6 straight through, you know, but if we get one or two, we might have to drop down to a £4 hook link and a smaller hook to keep the bites coming. Not that we're going to get a lot of bites from a tiny swim like this, but that's normally how chub fishing works. Let's get a hook. Okay, so we've got £6 straight through, and we've got a tag end of 3 or 4 inches, with 4 inches with a couple of swan shot on it, which is what I'm guessing will probably just about hold bottom. Again, you want to really use the lightest weight, unless you're feeder fishing, when it's a bit more, weight's still important, but it's obviously dictated more by the amount of bait you want to get through to the bottom. But here we're feeding by hand, so I've got 2 swan which should just hold bottom, and then I've got a hook link of about, whatever that is, 20 inches or so through to a very sharp beak pointed eyed size 10 hook, and we're going to pinch a little bit of flake on that and then see if we can catch a chub. Now, this will make you laugh. I went chub fishing a couple of weeks ago, did a whole loaf of crust on liquidised bread like this. It was absolutely prime. Got to the river, set up my rod, went to bait the hook, and I'd done the cardinal sin. Never do the whole flipping loaf, ever. Always keep a few slices back for your hook bait. So we're going to fish a little bit of flake on here. And putting flake on the hook is really, how you do it is really important. So what you want to do, it's probably a little bit big. We don't want to be too blatant. But a bit like that. Place your hook in the middle, and then just fold it and give it a light squeeze by the eye of the hook. That's it. And if you put your bread on properly, you should be able to strike it off and come back with no bait. Strike it off, feed the swim with the bit that you've just left off the hook. Always make the most of every bit of bread you're putting in then. Not that I'm like a cheapskate or anything, but you know, if you strike a bit of hook bait off on the spot, it's always good. If you're winding your bread in and it's still on the hook, then you put it on, you've pressed it too much and made it too doughy. So always remember that. Flake should come off easily, should be light and fluffy, and sit like that.
So another handful in there whilst we're waiting for that to prime up. You mentioned Chub hotels. What sort of spots are you talking about? You know, where would you typically find them hotels?
So on the Thames, it was, as I said, the actual location of most of the main species was quite pinned down because there were so many matches. It's not the same now. You could walk the Thames all day from Wallingford to Henley or through Port Meadow and you wouldn't see a single match. It's such a shame how it's changed, but a lot of the anglers obviously knew where the fish were, so the fish, you know, if you got pegged 66 or something, they knew that was the flyer, that was the Chub hotel. And Chub hotels were usually, well, were always on some sort of far bank feature. So big bramble overhangs were a favourite, real favourite. They did like those bramble thickets. My best day on the maggot feeder on this actual lucky rod, probably nearly 25 years ago, was 50 pound of chub in a day, which was still one of the best days fishing I've ever had. It was just mental, just crazy. And that was to a bramble thicket. Boats, you know, moored up boats are very, very good as well. Obviously, if there's people living on them, try not to hit the side with your feeder. Clonk. Oi! Had loads of that. So yeah, basically far bank features. And you know, on a lot of places, those chub are now very, very few and far between. It's because of predation, principally. It's a far, far cry to what it was 20 years ago, and even further, going back to when I was doing small stream chubbing like this when I was a lad. It's changed so much, and not in a good way, really. I mean, I remember like in the sort of early 80s and so on, just getting on my bike, and you could cycle along places like the River Stort or Pincey Brook, like I said, or even bits of the Lee, and you could see underneath the overhangs these sets of white lips. All the chub, they just, if you were quiet, you could find them under the bank, you could see them everywhere. And now, you know, I sort of lived near the River Chelmer for the last few years, and me and River would go out down the river on our bikes and that, and I would take some Polaroids, and you sometimes cycle and look for miles and not see anything. It's a real, real shame that it's just gone so downhill just through cormorants, otters, and people taking fish for the table. So that cumulative effect has meant that the rivers now are a shadow of what they were, but the fish are still to be found. You know, quite often on rivers you'll find them nearer the busy areas. So where people tend to congregate, quite often the fish will be left alone because the cormorants don't like the humans or the otters, and you'll get pockets of fish that will still thrive. But it's interesting actually, where I was perch fishing last week, there was 2 peninsulas on this lake, and quite a busy carp lake, but these 2 peninsulas, these little points, were almost permanently occupied by carp anglers. And the lake's, you know, 3 or 4 or 5, probably 4 or 5 acres, and on dusk the roach would show every evening. And they would show right next to these 2 points, right in close off the sides of these 2 points, not because there was anything there to offer the roach that was immediately obvious, but then when you thought about it, it's because those swims always had bivvies in them, and the cormorants didn't like coming over and feeding in front of anglers, and that's where the roach ended up. So I think it's similar with rivers. We've got a popular pub not too far away, and, you know, where you get lots of people, there's boating and things going on in the summer months, it does keep those predators back a bit. So if you can find those little pockets of chub, perch and so on, they do exist, and we've had a couple of bites along here between us in the past. So
Yeah, these little rivers, it seems like, you know, if you can find a bit of a raft, you know, where a load of stuff's
rafts definitely
collected up,
yeah.
and sometimes on the bends as well, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, and also really obvious slacks, creases. So there's a mega crease in this swim caused by the shoulder of this reed bed here, and it's like when I throw in a ball of bread, if I fall 6 inches short, it goes straight to the bottom. If I go 6 inches further, it dissipates into that current and washes down onto this snag. And very often, as you know, Joe, the fish will hang on the edge of that crease just out of the current, so they're not using too much energy, and they'll dart in and out to grab food as it goes past. So an obvious crease like this with cover, yeah, it's banging actually. Looks really nice. The only downside is that on somewhere like the Thames or a big river, you know, like I'd love to get up to the Trent and the Severn and places like that. I've had a couple of invitations. I might go soon actually, but on those sort of rivers you can extract, if with good angling, you can extract fish after fish because it's 50-yard chuck. You're bringing it away from the shoal with your tip down. Whereas here, you know, if we're lucky enough to get one, then every chub around here is going to know about it pretty quick. So generally, I think 2 bites for a spot is probably about as much as you can expect. But you know, we only want one, and we're happy, aren't we? I'll put in a bit.
It's got to be about that time, I reckon, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I'm going to put in another pinch and then a cast. That's the one. Here we go. Needed that £6. God, blimey.
Second cast.
God, he's really pulling it all. Wow. Excellent. Happy days.
Yes, Adam.
Happy days. Love it. Back to me roots. Back to me roots on a little river. Wow.
And look, right, we've been here, you know, we've had the rod out a few minutes,
Yeah.
baited up for a little while beforehand. And that's what I wanted to try and get across with this piece is, you know, you can just pop out for an hour or two,
Yeah.
can't you?
100%.
You know, go out just for sunset or dusk or, dawn, you know, it's...
Fits in with school runs, fits in with real life. If you're working from home, you could even go out on your lunch break, you know. It's bread is one of the most instant baits for chub. And if you get it right, there you go, you know. We could be going home now or going back to work or something, and we fitted it a little angling session in, haven't we?
Lovely.
Lovely.
Right, let's have a little look at your prize.
Okay, so I'm going to get him out in a second. We'll unhook him and have a look. But before we do, I've got my keep net behind me. I'm going to put a keep net in. One of the key things with chub, if you catch one and let him go, he'll tell his mates every time. So it's really important if you are going to stay and try and catch another two or one or whatever, just keep him quietly in a keep net away from the others and then get your rig back in. And actually, before we put the rig in, we're going to put a bit more bait, leave it quiet and have a look at this guy. There we go, probably about £3. 2.5 pull in that current, really pleased with him. So we'll put him in a keep net, put a little bit more bread in, see if we can catch another one.
Wicked, well done, mate.
Cheers, Joe. Yes.
Yeah.
Go, mate. Cool.
Don't they go, as Wilson would say.
Snagged me on something,
Oh, ain't, is it?
but it's not in the snag. That's heavier than the last one, that's for sure. Shit.
Oh, no. Hello? I can't take the call. I can't speak. I've got a chub on.
Got a chubby on. Can't be losing them. Don't get another chance if you lose them. Don't think he's still there, but I'm just going to slacken off and see if he is. Oh no.
Oh, saved. One of the things I mentioned in the intro was how it's so nice to just be completely absorbed by like your quiver tip or the float.
Yeah.
You know, no thoughts of looking at the phone whatsoever.
Yeah, you don't, do you?
It's getting a bit, you know, out of hand now, isn't it? The old phone addiction. I think we're all guilty of it at times.
Yeah, I try and be disciplined to the point that I don't like texting, so I quite often use that voice note thing on WhatsApp. That's really good, because if you do want to send someone a reply or something, because, you know, just reading a message or texting, let alone social media, just doing that, you could miss something important. So I do that a lot, and then now I just do social media in the evenings when it's dark. Try not to even do it at all during the day.
I worry about, you know, future generations, because, you know, it's like a lot of people seem to use their phone just as a distraction of their thoughts these days. You know, it's like they can't handle their own thoughts, and
100%.
Kids just see that as normal, don't they? They don't know any different. Obviously, we were sort of pre-phone generations, and yeah, I don't know. It sounds a bit
No, mate, you're bang on. I find it heartbreaking, and I've had to rein myself in from speaking to parents in the past, because you see like the kids just craving for attention and interaction, and the parents are just glued to their phone. You see it all the time, everywhere you go, and it is so sad, because kids thrive on, you know, their brain development works on interaction with adults and other people, and you know they'll just think that is the norm. They look at their mum or their dad, and the message is that this is more interesting than you. What damage does that do in the long term? It's so sad. So we've had one, lost one, which pulled a lot harder than the first one. Gutted about that. Might have been an elusive 4-pounder, you never know. But we've been ram-raided by a couple of dogs. Labradors, the greediest dog in the whole world, trying to eat all the bread and stuff up the top there. And the owner come after him, sounding like he was speaking for a mega loud hailer. So it's all gone a bit quiet now. Not had any more knocks, but I've started introducing a few maggots just upstream and just trickling those through. I've got a bit of flake on at the moment, a smaller bit of flake tipped with a red maggot. But I'll probably change just to a little bunch of maggots shortly. And I'm just going to keep these trickling in. Done quite a lot of bread actually, so I'll have to nip back to the van for a bit more of that. But I think we're good for another bite out of this swim, but then after that we might have to move, but let's see if we can get another one, eh? Here we go. They're so shy.
Yes. Right.
River chub. A bit smaller than the first one, probably about 2 pound. Happy days. Small stream chubbing on a freezing cold January day. Beautiful.
So, mate, a little tactical change.
Yeah, I think, like we were saying at the start, you know, to get a couple of bites out of a little swim like this is always going to be hard. And we've had 2 and lost one, and losing a chub is always the kiss of death, in my limited experience. So we just put the rig back in, rested the swim, baited it, put the rig back in, and had another occurrence which didn't develop. So what I'm going to do is drop down to a 4-pound hook link and a size 12 hook and a smaller bit of bait, much smaller bit of flake. I'm not saying it'll work, but certainly the one thing I have learnt about chub is that if you do things like that, usually I'm going to lengthen the hook link as well. More often than not, that will provoke a reaction. So
it makes me laugh, you know, when you're reading magazines about anglers saying they don't find down in winter, there's no need to find down, you know, carp anglers.
yeah.
Yet you'll see the same carp anglers floater fishing in the summer talking about how they've got to drop down to smaller baits and, you know, less buoyant hook baits to get bites.
So true, so true.
It's kind of the perfect example of it, really.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? You know?
That's what I always say when people do say you don't need to find down. I say, okay. They say, the carp can't recognise end tackle or tell what a hook is and all that. Well, you try and catch one on a floater with a size 4 hook and come back to me.
Or, you know, a super buoyant bait sometimes, you know, once they've clued up to it,
Yeah.
you know, you have to, you know, which just shows, doesn't it, they're regulating their suck because they're paranoid, which,
100%,
you know,
yeah.
which you'd expect.
Definitely.
But yeah, massive, I mean, we both do it, don't we? Last time we were out fishing, we were both using, what was it, 8-pound fluorocarbon hook links, or 10-pound, was it?
Yeah.
And
small hooks.
Small hooks.
Long links.
Long hairs and cotton baits.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's in our locker from doing stuff like this down the years, and it is so important to have that in the locker. I think, you know, I could think of loads of places. Bayswater Day Ticket Lake was a classic example of having that ability to find down, getting more would get you more bites. There's absolutely no doubt about it. You know, in the height of the summer when they're moving around a lot and feeding with confidence, it's different, but...
Well, it's not on the surface, is it?
Well, it's true. Yeah. I can think of like chub sessions that I've had on the Thames where you would get a bite on a maggot feeder, or maybe 2 on a 16. You put it back out there, put the fish in the keep net, put it back out there. You wouldn't get another bite. So then you would bring it in and put 1 on an 18, go straight away, instantly. So you put it back out and you get another one, then it would stop. Then you had to put 2 on a 20 and lengthen the hook length by 6 inches. And all day long you had to keep changing it. It was almost impossible to get another bite on what you just had a chub on. So I always do things like this if I can, if I feel I need to, and I think there's one more bite to come from this swim, and hopefully this will get it. Much longer hook length, smaller hook, little bit of flake, lighter hook length, 4 pound double strength. I mean, you should be able to land any chub on 4 pound double strength, but we'll see.
Oh mate, you persevered.
Yeah. It does show, doesn't it, that if fine down you can get that extra bite. I never would have thought you could get 4 bites out of a swim like this, you know, in a morning.
It's quite an exciting swim as well, isn't it? Because you can be on
Yeah.
the ball.
Yeah, massively exciting. They're all about the same size though. Oh, he swam in the net for me. Very nice. Excellent. Happy days. They're like peas in the pod. A chub with his dorsal up. We don't see that too often. That's lovely, isn't it?
Cracking.
Awesome. Proper pleased with that.
What are you thinking then? Going to persevere or try another spot?
He's got reddish tinges to his fins. Look at that. That's lovely.
His grandmother was a roach.
Yeah, I wonder. The last thing a minnow sees in the summer. Yeah, I'm going to put it back in there, Joe. Well, it's gone pretty quiet now. Managed to extract that last one by fining down, but as I said, you know, quite often when you're chub fishing you need to make another change, and to get another bite out of it I'd probably need to go on a 14, 3 pound bottom and maybe the punch instead of flake, but you ain't going to land them because of the snag. So I think I'm going to draw a line under it in this swim. 4 bites is way more than I expected. We've got 3 chub in the net, we'll slip them back, and I baited a spot just above the bridge, which is quite handy because it's on the way back to the van where my sandwiches are waiting, and I'm absolutely Hank Marvin. And so yeah, we'll go and have a little go. Joe's going to get a rod out of his car. He's done his work for the day, so let's see if he can get a fish, which would be lovely. And if either of us get anything, then we'll show you later on. In the meantime, I'm going to give this another 30 seconds and I'm going to move.
For me, hindsight is a wonderful thing. I suppose I would have, for one of the things I would have done, I think I would have spent more time seeing my mum if I could, because it's not till you realise that when they're gone, you can't spend as much time as you can with them, especially like with your family. At the moment, it's a bit difficult because with my granddaughter, I'd like to see her every day, but she lives up here and I live down in Suffolk. And I suppose I would have tried to earn more money, let's put it that way. You know, I worked hard when I was younger and I'm happy for what I've got because my wife and I are, you know, we live quite a good life. I can go fishing every week and everything else. But yeah, I think I might have, you know, tried a bit harder to, you know, get an even better future, even though it's been a great future for me. You know, I would have had, what's his name? One thing, I think I would have bought more houses if I could. So I had more of an income coming off of that. But that was that. Hindsight for my fishing, I've always took it to the max. But in the early days, it was not so much as an obsession to what it is now, you know what I mean? And I'd have, you know, I would have loved to have fished more with some of the old carp anglers. I fished with Hutchie once, that was good, but it wasn't like it is now, you know what I mean? He got me pissed at the pub as it happens, and I fell in the lake there. But it was, you know, when you look back at things, it was all so secretive and people didn't want to tell you nothing. And if you got a little edge, you'd keep it to yourself, wouldn't you? But not like now, it's all over the internet and everyone's telling you how to do it. I can't really say that there's things that I've just enjoyed fishing all my life.
Yo, yo, yo. Believe it or not, it's been 2 weeks since I was last out on the bank fishing. Had a couple of weeks off to catch up with a few bits and pieces, caught up with some friends, done a bit of partying, and yeah, after, say, 2 weeks of sleeping indoors, I was absolutely desperate to get out. So I've come up to St Ives today. On the way up here, I saw that there was a big wind change. It went from southeasterly to northwesterly in the space of an hour. And even though it's about 12, 14 miles an hour, it's not a big wind. However, on this big pit and with this flat Cambridgeshire countryside, it's it's a bit more than it would be on your typical lake. Got the rods out, 4 of them spread around this area, a couple of kilos of boilies, it's just spread all over the top of them. Every time I fish this lake, I've got that brown in mind, the round brown, and it's a massive old carp, sort of been up to sort of upper 40s, but it's been around a long time and it's a cool one, you know. But it hasn't actually been out this year from what I can gather, so it's well due. Normally that comes out more than any of them, probably sort of up to 4 times a year. So it obviously likes its grub, and as I say, every time I fish here, it's like, that's the one that I'm wanting to see in the bottom of my net. So let's hope tonight is the night. Come on the brown, are you in town? Golden brown, texture like sun. Well, nothing was happening on the meadow this morning. Nothing showed there in the evening. I did have a couple of little liners this morning, but with nothing showing, I wasn't happy sitting there all day. So I came for a little look round the shallow. I say round, I didn't even actually make it all the way round, because the first sort of area I got to, saw a couple of fish milling about, saw a little bit of fizzing, saw a couple of fish in a big weed bed. I thought, well, that's good enough for me. Went and got my gear, come back, had a plumb around in that swim, probably spooked a few of those, or the fish that were in the area, probably spooked them out of there, just purely because it was so hard trying to find any spots. Now, when there's no spots, I'm trying to convince myself that they're not really feeding in that area, obviously, because otherwise they'd be making spots. There are bits you can't get to because of the cast, or because of the weed bed, or because of the pad, so there are probably areas that you can't get to where there are clearer spots, but I wasn't particularly happy in there. So I come a little bit further around the corner and found a couple of lovely looking margin spots, definitely been polished off recently, quite big areas as well. You know, this kind of gravel, it doesn't stay clean on its own, you know, it will just sediment up if the fish aren't feeding on it. It's well out of swan's depth as well, well, at least a foot out of swan's depth. And yeah, I've got 3 different spots around this area, all in the edge, all look like they've been visited regularly lately, and because the water's been up so high, round here it's all flooded, so I don't think these swims are getting much attention, and certainly suggests that this one doesn't get much just by the way that, you know, it's so overgrown. So yeah, I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I know there's fish in the area, or there were earlier. Hopefully they'll be back. Fingers crossed for a big one. Come on, the old lanies, 50 pounder. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, I've got to be quiet anyway, because like I say, I'm only fishing in close. Got my bivvy tucked back a bit on the flooded pathway. Hardcore, you know the score. Oh yeah, also there's a there's a festival or something going on over the back here, so I'm getting a little taste of my own medicine. Obviously I put on some events and we play music pretty loud at times and get a few noise complaints, but I can see why now. The difference here is you've got some rock music, but there's some drum and bass music, and depending how the wind's blowing, you keep hearing different elements of it, so it's like MCing over rock music background. And yeah, it's not the one. What is it they say? If you can't beat them, join them. In the last couple of hours, the music's intensified massively. There's like probably 3 or 4 different types of drum and bass going on now, and at least 3 different MC. So, you know, from a DJ's perspective, it drives your brain mental. But I'm just imagining how many people there are over there having the time of their lives after 2 years of being locked down. So, yeah, fair play to them. Kick the out of it. Well, when I set my traps today, a few hours ago, I was so happy with them. Like hand placing rigs in the edge, you just can't beat it, can you? And I was mega confident. Anyway, guess what's happened? This one's gone. We've got one in the net. Had a quite a short scrap with it, but quite powerful considering it's not massive. But it's a lovely carp, and I'm well happy. Let's get him out and have a look at him. Result. Well, it's a bit lively because he came in pretty quickly, but look at that for an absolute banger of a fish. Lovely linear, sort of a bit of a double row linear on that side, isn't it, actually? Really nice and dark. Oh, he's got like a dent on his head or something there. There's a bit of a deformity going on. Still, he's a character, and he makes me very happy. I reckon he's probably about 20 pound actually. Didn't think it was that big when he went in the net, but he's grown. Mega. Right, a couple of quick snaps and we'll get you back, mate. top of the morning to you, or top of the morning. Yeah, thankfully that music stopped at about 11 o'clock last night. And it was just like, I wouldn't have minded if it was just like one soundtrack, but that was painful. Anyway, I got up at about 4:45. I was going to have a lay-in because I'm fishing the margins. I just wanted to be as quiet as possible. But yeah, I was too excited, so I got up and made myself a brew. I've been sitting there the last sort of 2.5 hours. Saw a little bit of bubbling, but literally didn't want to get out because I've got water all around me, and as soon as I start walking through that, it's sending out ripples across the lake. So kept as quiet as I could. Left hand rod's ripped off. Just had a mental scrap with this one. Just like literally beasted me. Again, it's not a big one. It's probably, I don't know, maybe about 20 pound. Still a big one, obviously, but I think I'm due a proper chunk soon. And with that in mind, I think I'm going to have to stay another night. 2 fish in a short period of time on here is a good result, and I'm sure a big one has got to be next. Anyway, in the meantime, let's get this one out. Here we go. I've got you. You're safe. Doesn't want to relax, do you? There we go. Mega carp. Definitely over 20 pound. The sling's in my car. Should go and get it really, but rods are out, and yeah, it looks too good to be reeling in at the moment, so I don't really mind too much about the weight. Just well happy with the result. What a cool one. Yeah, I'm going to give you 22, 23. 2 big scales down there. Quite long. Proper buzz. Right, slip this one back as quietly as we can, because like I say, I'm fishing close in, trying to be a bit stealthy. Lovely jubbly. Oi, oi. Right, little catch up for you. I left St Ives on Tuesday, but before I did, I popped round to the beach on Longreach, put a bit of bait in there because I knew we were going to be getting some good southerlies later on in the week, and I know they love a southerly in there. So, got home, spoke to Mark Jackson about doing some filming, and I said to him, when are you back up St Ives then, mate? And he said, I'm here now till Sunday. So I thought, right, I'll get back up there, do a couple of hours filming with him, and then go over to Longreach. Got caught in traffic, and it was the first time I ever met Mark, so you know I didn't want to be rude and just shoot in and shoot out. So everything took a bit longer than I would have liked. And then when I got over to Longreach, Tom Stokes was already in the beach with him. He'd been in there the night before as well, and he'd caught one that morning. So I had a good chat with Tom because I hadn't met him before, and yeah, nice fellow. Had chewed the fat about various bits and bobs, and it started tipping it down, so I had to wait there a bit longer. But yeah, I ended up setting up along that office bank halfway along, and just as I was getting sorted, heard a bit of shouting, and it was Tom. Walked up there, he's got a starburst in the net, and the funny thing was I'd even said to Mark, I'm going back over Longreach because I know starburst is due now.
Well, how about that then? Old starburst, biggest fish in the lake, absolutely mega mirror, awesome old carp. Can't believe that. Caught my first one this morning, 22 pounder. Had a bit of a nightmare with the weed, shifted all that, got the rods back out, caught a tench, and then not long after, I got him. I can't believe it. I literally cannot believe it. As you look, eh? Happy days.
There you go. Got sound as well. Sweet.
Big old fish in the water, isn't it there? Happy days. Can't believe that. I literally can't believe that. How's your look?
There you go, well done, mate.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate.
So yeah, I was right with my timing, I was right with the area, but I wasn't there on time to capitalise on that. But no, fair play to Tom. He didn't just have that. The next morning he woke up to the big fully as well, and also capped that off of a 27 common. So yeah, he absolutely rinsed it that session. Fair play to you, bro. Yeah, it was nice to share the moment with you, and hopefully, yeah, we got you some good picks, because I felt the pressure with that one, I can tell you. Right, so anyway, I'd done 2 nights there unnecessarily because I hadn't seen anything and felt like I was just camping really. I thought, what are you doing? Had a word with myself. Considered going home, but instead I come over for a look on the shallow. I thought, right, you see one sign, that'll be good enough for me. Just give us a sign. And I stood on the swim on the end of the wind where there was no anglers. Within 2 minutes, bosh, saw one come out. Well, that's good enough for me. So I got round here, got my rods out, and the boys have got a barbecue on the go. So I'm going to get spoilt tonight by the looks of it, to my first St. Ives barbecue. And hopefully we'll catch a carp as well. Fingers crossed. God, I'll tell you what, I forgot how cosy it is wearing a scarf. Top tip from Mr. Morgan this month is get yourself a scarf if you haven't got one already. It's like being hugged around the neck. Right, that's it for this month. Hope you enjoyed the show. You're probably sick of the sight of me by now after getting double helpings of Morgan this month. But yeah, big ups to the universe for providing a couple of ridiculous sessions, thoroughly enjoyable. And obviously it was nice to be able to share them with you. We'll be back next month. Been invited to a rather special lake with some very big fish in it, and I'm taking sort of a bit of an underground angler who you wouldn't have heard a lot of. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing a few stories from him. He's caught a ridiculous amount of big fish over the years. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting session, and hopefully we'll get amongst some special fish. Yeah, join us next month. And in the meantime, get yourself out on the bank fishing. It might seem like a bit of a big ordeal and you think, oh, the weather's cold, don't want to be out, blah, blah, blah. I've got to organise all my kit. But I guarantee once you're out, you'll be grateful for it. Right, thanks again, people. Massive thanks for the contributions. For those who are not aware, I do rely on your contributions to keep this show going. So, you know, think of it as a little exchange, if you like. An hour and a half of entertainment for you. couple of quid for me. If you can, that'd be wonderful. If you can't afford that, then give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because that is 100% free. And obviously, always welcome your feedback. Thanks again. See you next month.